Karen Young, what are your top infrastructure development priorities, and if any of them is unfunded or only partially, what is your strategy for bringing them to fruition? Or 2 minutes.
Well, certainly the #1 priority would be the interchange at Monocacy Boulevard and 15. That has been funded, fortunately, in this last General Assembly section. I think there are a number of other projects. We need to widen 15 for the stretch between Patrick going north to Monocacy Boulevard. We need to mitigate many of the intersections going on to 15 on that same trajectory. 70 West needs widening. We also need to work on the bridges that are leading to many of those particular geographies. Traffic mitigation, 40 in Bachman's Lane, 26 going south to 15 is a disaster. We need to have more turning sections. And another project I would like to see, I've seen in other areas of the country, is a light system that is centrally controlled. Through technology, you can control all the traffic lights. You can change them by hour of the day and day of the week. And we definitely need more coordination there. So where do you go for money? Well, traditionally, the sources have been state and federal government. I don't know that we can rely on either of those two anymore. We all know that the federal government can't take care of itself these days, no less than municipalities. Not that we wouldn't try, but we shouldn't count on that. And the state gets a lot of pass-through funding through the federal government. I think we need to make better use, stronger use of public-private partnerships and innovative financing such as infrastructure bonds.
Excuse me. Thank you. Jennifer Darling, this actually follows well to that answer. Frederick is one of Maryland's largest municipalities, second largest, in a growing economic powerhouse. How would you use the office of mayor to raise our profile with the state and federal governments?
Well, fortunately, I was wise enough to endorse John Delaney first. Having a congressman in Washington who actually represents the city and knows it is very positive for the city. We have to make sure that Senator Mikulski and Senator Sarbanes are here on a regular basis, as they were when I was in office before. They want to represent the constituents, not the political parties. And I think we've seen that the stalemates in political parties, whether in Annapolis or Winchester Hall or now Washington, D.C., are not serving us well. So to have an elected official who speaks to both parties is helpful. To go to Annapolis, I'm sure that our representatives in Annapolis will want to make sure that our capital funding for I-270 and our northbound ramps in 15 and 26, like they were when I was mayor before, happen. They will want to make sure that we are not being wasteful when it comes to our program open space money, as we have been with Hargett Farm and in some places along Carroll Creek in the past. So what we have to make sure is that we make the good case. The other part of it is these brown bag lunches will include these elected officials who want to make the connections with their biggest constituency, and that is in the city of Frederick. Sometimes politics does get in the way. Personal relationships do get in the way. But I've always been a backer of making the case for progress and not asking for something that we don't need. When we were in office before, we got Governor Ehrlich to come to Frederick and give us clean water money for brownfields restoration on Carroll Creek. These are the projects that make sense. We won't be wasteful. We won't be wasteful in asking for state money for the stadium to do something that a private sector industry is going to do anyway with the Harry Grove Stadium or with the hotel project. So we want to be smart, and that's what I'll try to be. Thank you.
It always comes back here.
It
always comes back to me, right. Okay, 1 minute follow-ons or rebuttals with regard to raising our profile with the state and federal governments.
Anyone? Yes, no? It's not a requirement. I'm going back there. Go back there.
Thank you. We're talking about raising our profile. We are the second largest municipality in the state of Maryland, and that comes with a lot of wonderful things. We get a lot of recognition, but we always want to try to get more. But we also have a system put in place. We have a board of aldermen who participate in a number of things. It's not just the mayor. The mayor is the leader, but by leading, make sure that everybody is helping out in the cause. We have our alderman, Alderman Young serves on a number of committees at MML and is the president of Washtenaw. We have our local state delegation, who we go to a lot to get help through the state. Our congressional representatives have gone through a lot. A good example with them is we're trying to get that $13.5 million back from FAA, and they've done a good job of getting some of that money trickled in. $900,000 about 2 months ago, $3.2 million recently. So more to go, but we have to be able to do this in a partnership. It's not up just to one person. And that's what I think the leadership qualities are, is make sure everybody are there and the right tools in the right places.
1 minute to Karen Young on that.
Yeah, I want to talk about this issue because this is something I have been doing for the past 4 years. As the mayor mentioned, I've been on the legislative committee of Maryland Municipal League for 4 years. 1 year I served as the vice chair of it. And I have testified at every session, in particular for the return of highway user revenues. And for 2 years, we were successful in doing that. At the regional level, as the mayor mentioned, I currently serve as the chair of the Washington Council of Governments, and we have two other aldermen active on various committees, Alderman Alloy, Alderman Krim. And as a result, Frederick, for the first time, truly has a seat at the table. And I will mention David Dunn, who has also been very active on a Washtenaw committee. What that has done is given us a greater opportunity for funding and greater opportunity for policy. Also, one final element, when Congressman Delaney won his primary, I said, congratulations, and your first order of priority ought to be helping us get back our funding for the airport. We got that message last week.
Thank you. Well, as happens on a very regular basis, I've made an error, and I neglected to give Jennifer Dougherty and Karen Young the opportunity to respond. You're right, you spoke on that, right. Sorry, another error. Error upon error. Two of the candidates to speak on the question of their infrastructure priorities, and if they're not funded, how would they fund them, for 1 minute each.
Right, it's your question.
Lights are going off here. Infrastructure priorities. As already was mentioned, the intersection at 15 and Monocacy. We also have an internal connection to that to make that work, and it has to be done at the same time. It is phase 2 of Monocacy Boulevard. Phase 1 was completed, and you have seen I've seen a great deal of comments about that, positive comments about that intersection. That's going to be one that we need to make sure that we move forward with, and this administration has already taken steps to make that happen. We also need to continue to push for highway user revenue return, because one of the things we're way behind on is just upkeep of our current road conditions. We're behind somewhere on the attitude of amount of about $6 million, and that comes directly from the fact that loss of the highway revenue, user revenue. So we need to continue to forge with the state to get that money back so we can get caught up on those road repairs.
Each candidate from the beginning of time talks about I-70 and 270. We won't change that. We'll keep it moving forward. We also want to look at the multimodal station that needs to be examined for the downtown train station. We're trying to make sure that we have everything covered in our downtown so people can live and work and walk, particularly to have a successful East Frederick Rising. And we have to have a conversation with the state and CSX about opening up those opportunities for additional routes. Yesterday, 2 days ago, when the federal government made a special announcement, oh, you have to come in for 4 hours, but we're shutting down early, CSX and MARC got together and they had a special train. So that proves you can have another train route. We have to have that conversation. We have to put the issues on the table. I'd start with having a Saturday event, and then finally we have to talk about our water and sewer plant, because capacity will always be the issue. If we're going to grow to 100,000, which we will, we have to make sure we're in control of our water and sewer capacity. Trust me, we don't want to go down a road of not having adequate capacity. Waste to energy, I hope we get to talk about it.